when I talk about healing, because that's part of the title of this retreat, I'm not speaking about a destination in terms of if you do X, Y, and Z, you'll be healed and done and on to the next thing. So it's not something to accomplish, it's not something to do. For me, healing is the ongoing process of integrating and becoming aware of our intrinsic wholeness and our intrinsic goodness. What I said there was that we become aware of it. It's not like we suddenly realize, I need to do some work to heal or to be connected to my goodness. It's already there. We're just revealing and remembering. And the way we do that is through dropping into safety. And when I say safety, I mean from the somatic nervous system level, not a sense of like, because we're all safe, we get that on a physical level, but there is an emotional, energetic guarding that we're all carrying right now, especially in a group with strangers potentially. We may know a few. And the design of this retreat is to de-armor or to relax or melt, really, the neural, energetic, emotional, defensive layers that keep your heart closed, keeps you from feeling your somatic sense of self. And also it prevents the natural body wisdom's impulse to begin to unwind charge and tension that you might have been holding for many years that often translates as dysfunction in your relationship, distrust in life, with men, with women. So the core of what we are focusing on is what would allow your nervous system to drop into an exquisite state of regulation, rest, relaxation, to such a degree that your body has a chance to breathe, and it will automatically begin to surface and reveal without your mind necessarily needing to figure it out, whatever wants to be felt, met, and witnessed. And the reason we do this work together in a group like this is that there is a power in doing our inner work together with others in tribe, because they can offer us a frequency of attuned, connected presence into places that we never received when we were young. So whether or not you remember this intellectually, most of us were brought up in a family unit or field where very quickly you began to understand that there were certain things that you could do to bring love to you, and there were certain things that you did that would potentially cause rejection, pain, or abandonment, or disconnection from the people that you love. And another word of saying that is that often the way that we are becomes transactional, meaning that certain things are allowed and certain things are not allowed. And then we learn that the attuned love or acceptance from our caregivers becomes dependent. It's dependent on behaving a certain way, showing a certain way, being in this part, but not in this part. And so many of us carry a split away from our authentic essence, where not all of us has felt welcome. So the purpose of this retreat is to relax into our divine embodied connection with ourselves and each other. And the outcome of that has repercussions in every area of your life. So the first part of the culture that I want to speak into is you're going to see throughout this retreat, whether you're in the men's space, women's space, mixed space, we're going to slow down. And there's a good reason for that. It's because nearly all of our wounding happened because things happened that were either too much, too soon, or too fast, or a combination of those three. And therefore, the repair is actually doing the opposite of that, is coming back into slowing down, which is really hard in a culture where, for example, one of my coping strategies is to do, right? And therefore, if we're not careful, we will begin to project onto this retreat experience the need to do a lot. Like, I'm here for a week, I need to get the most out of this, so let's do as much work on ourselves. Oh my God, listen to that. Let's work on ourselves. You know, even in that invitation, there is something quite harsh and tension building around it. So the invitation is to come into a sublime rest here. That's the invitation. Not just in this room will we be inviting that practice, but my intention would be the moment you wake up, what can you do to bring more coming homeness into your own being, whether it's leaving your devices off, if it's going for a walk in nature, being silent for the first few hours, eating slowly, skipping breakfast, whatever it might be that you feel like, what does your body need? Many of us growing up, like I said, probably didn't receive the attuned, connected presence from our caregivers. So we weren't really felt or welcomed as we are. And in that, over time, we start to create a little bit of a contraction, which is another word of saying tension builds up as a charge that we don't digest. We can't digest it. It's too much. And then this gets carried with us over the years. And then we start to live from this contracted place. We make decisions from this contracted place. When we're in relationship, it's that charge that kind of interacts with our partner's charge. And it ends up creating a lot of unhealthy dynamics, even health issues. Everything can start to, for the first decade or so, we function, but as we get older, it can start to really have a negative impact in our lives. The good news is that we can repair through imprinting. So this is a healthy modeling. This is being able to not go back, like in therapy, to all those moments where you felt unloved. It's not about that. It's your body right now knows exactly what it needs to be seen, felt in, to receive, to be met in, to experience in order for a new layer of healing, new layer of integration, wholeness, lightness, openness to come into effect. You do not need to figure this out this week. You don't need to journal it out and go, what do I need to do here? You need to rest and allow your body to inform you, and it will. All healing has its time. And when we're in an amplified field, basically when our hearts combine and we start to sync up, the strength of that field begins to call forth automatically, beyond the mind, what needs to come through. And therefore, a invitation is here to surrender and trust in the process of being in a field, and that the tribe itself, without effort, will do the heavy lifting. And so you might be over the days going, I'm not getting it, or I'm not feeling it. And that tension, of course, is preventing you from accessing that. A big chunk of what we're doing this week is going to be done in not only the tribal container, which is this, but also in a container of men and brothers and a container of women and sisters. And that's important because inside of those containers is access to parts of you that you may not have full access to in either a larger group or with a mixed group. So there are things that come up in men's only circles, for example, that need to be met by men and really only show up with men. And there's only safety available with men in that. And the exact same applies to the sisters. So the reason we have these containers is because it allows us to more effectively bring safety to your system. That's it. It's the only reason. So that you can begin to see an imprint that healthy relationships, healthy parenting, healthy tribe must have healthy brotherhood and sisterhood as a core component of the tribe. We've been running these integrated men and women retreats for several years now. And in the evolution, like I mentioned earlier, we've made a few shifts. So in prior days, years gone by, we would be very much in two different spaces in the center. And neither the two shall meet until a certain point. And each time that happened, we noticed a tension building up, especially in the men's space. It's like, when are we going to meet the women? Do we even want to meet the women? And it was all about the women. As it should be. And it felt like, the first 3 days was very much separated, and then the meeting points were a bit clunky initially. It took the third day of the connected tribal space to actually flow with the mixed group. And it was hard. And I was like, no, we need to do this a different way. So we're actually going to be spending time in men and women's circles every day, whereas in the past we would start with separated containers and gradually become all one mixed group. This is going to have our own containers for the week, but we're also going to be spending a session, like for example in the afternoon, time together every day too. So that's why we're starting right now in this integrated space. So we have more of an integration throughout the whole piece. Secondly, in the past, we were quite, not harsh, but firm on certain rules, like you don't eat together, you don't move into each other's spaces, couples don't sleep together, and we were making these rules external, and that, it's like, this is the rules, deal with it. And the shift that I've made is around relaxing into, here's the intention for the week, and your invitation and the recommendation is to experience a new way of having your needs met by brothers and sisters and not relying, if you're here as a couple, on each other for that. But you're adult, you can deal with it, you can make your own choices. We don't need to be mum and dad, because what began to happen is the more rules I began to enforce, the more projection of dad I got. Like, there's an authority saying that this is how we should eat, this is how we should sleep, this is how we should fuck, this is... Well, maybe not the last one, but you know what I mean. There was these external rules being enforced by authority, and that had an effect on the field that isn't actually positive for the emergence. So we're going to talk about after the break how we see this container shaping, and it will be up to you to maintain that integrity based on the value you want to get. So you're at choice to how far you want to go into this experience without being forced. So the culture we want to create is there's nothing forced here. There's nothing you have to do. There's not even sessions you have to attend. You are free this week to flow and move about this retreat in a way that serves you. And ultimately, you're at choice as to the level of participation and the degree to which you want to contribute to this tribe. And that way, it creates another level of kind of relaxation in relationship to authority and to being in a place of like, okay, there is leaders, and now we just surrender to the leaders. No,